What is up, everyone? My name is Ross, and we are gathered here today to demonstrate how to kind of clean up some light pollution that you may have in your image, like this one that we see before us. We're going to take this kind of pretty in-your-face yellow bokeh and turn it into something like this, which is much more pleasing, in my opinion. So without further ado, let's get into this. So we're going to do three different things tonight. The first step we're going to try to do is we're going to try to match the luminance levels of the yellow to the green in the background. So that's going to be step one. Step two is we're going to try to then decontaminate the yellow and push it more towards a green hue. That's step two. And then step three, we're going to add our own flavor, and this is a step where you make it your own. As I always say, it's Photoshop, so we have fun with it, and you color grade to your taste and your liking. So let's get right into it. First thing I'm going to do is hit Command J to duplicate this background layer because we want to work non-destructively while we're in Photoshop. So the first step, we want to match the luminance levels of the yellow to the rest of the background, and it's actually pretty easy to do. What we're going to do is go down here to our adjustment layers, and we're going to create a new black and white adjustment layer. So what this does is it's going to give you all these sliders that you can now play with, and as you can see, because the yellow is so dominant in this image, we can adjust it to our liking. So all we're doing is we're going to try to match this pretty well. As you can see, there's still going to be some edges here in the image, but we want to get these as close as we can without destroying our image. And you know, you can play with the green and see how that affects it. I like what that's doing there. I don't want to go too over the board, and it's funny because even pulling this red slider does a lot, but as you can see, we can push it too far very quickly. So we just want to have a nice kind of balance between the different colors, or I should say the different tones, because what we're trying to do now is just match the luminance levels. So once we have the luminance levels where we kind of like them, we're going to go here to the blending mode, click on that, and set it to luminosity. And right off the bat, you're going to say, well, it just, what did it really do? It just made everything darker, and it did, but that's what we wanted because we wanted to match those yellow levels to the green in the background of the image. So the second step, what I told you we're going to do, is we're now going to try to match those hues. So by doing, what we're going to do is we're going to grab an adjustment layer and go HueSaturation. So now, if you click this little slider icon here, it allows you to target an area. So if you click and hold, you now have this slider, and it's going to adjust the saturation. Now don't worry if it's affecting other areas of the image, we can easily mask it out later. So I'm going to pull the saturation down to about there, and then what we can also do is go up here and then pull the sliders around, and we want to push this more towards a green hue. And we don't want to go too far because we're going to get, actually that's looking pretty good. We don't want to go too blue. I'm looking at this area here, because if I turn this off, you can see this is going to be our best match to the background. We've got some more of a greenish yellow, and over here it's completely yellow. So I'm going to turn this back on. It's looking pretty close right about there. Now I'm not pleased with the rest of the colors here, so what I'm going to do on top of this hue and saturation is I'm going to grab another adjustment and go selective color. Selective color is another adjustment layer that will target specific colors, and I'm going to keep it on the yellows as we have selected here. You might be set to red or green, so make sure you got yellow selected, and just start playing with these again. If we pull the cyan down, it's going to push more yellow or more magenta in, and we don't want that. I'm going to go right to yellow and just see what this is going to do. So that's going to kind of mute it, which I kind of like. The black slider is either going to kind of crush our blacks or pull them out. Magenta is going to either push magenta in or push green in. I don't mind that, actually. I'm going to have to fix this area down here later, but what you're seeing now is we can still see the edges of the bokeh. So what I want to do is, because we have this duplicate background layer, I'm going to grab that layer and I'm going to hit J. Now for me, this patch tool is already selected. If it's not, you can click and get it selected over here, but the drop down, or if you just hit Shift and click J, you can cycle through all these tools. So I'm going to use the patch tool quick, and I'm just going to kind of grab these edges, not like that, more so like this, and just kind of feather them out. The patch tool is nice for kind of quick cloning or cleanup of areas. You just kind of got to be careful where you're clicking and get a nice selection of multiple areas to just kind of blend it in. That's looking pretty good. I want to attack this area now, right there. I don't like what that did. Maybe go up here. That's looking better. And then I have a little bit of an edge here that I do want to clean up just real quick. And this is looking good. We're done. I'm just kidding. So what we're going to do now is grab all these adjustment layers, shift click them, hit Command G to group them, and with this now selected, we can add a layer mask to this whole group. And what I'm going to do is hit the G to get my paint bucket tool, hit X to switch my colors from background to foreground, and I'm going to make sure black is selected over here, and I'm going to bucket it. So that basically wiped out everything we did, but that's okay. I'm going to bring my brush tool, I'm going to switch back to white because now whatever I paint in the layer mask is going to bring forward the adjustments that we did, and I'm going to have my brush set to a large brush that is very soft, the opacity set to 33 and the flow set to 20. Now why I want this is because I don't have my tablet out right now. I'm doing this all with a mouse, so it's going to allow me to kind of control how much of this group I'm bringing back into play, and I'll show you as we get into this. So I'm going to start painting, and it's going to take a little while. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. I'm going to full screen this so I can click around. I'm going to go bigger, and I'm going to bring actually opacity up just a little bit so we can do this a little quicker. What I want to do is just paint in our adjustments, or paint back the adjustments, because if you notice before, if I disable this real quick, it's affecting the focus area of our image, and I don't want it to affect the skin tones or the couple in general. I'm going to enable this layer mask and then just continue on painting this back in. A little bit smaller brush when I get near them, because once again I don't want to contaminate the couple in the image. This is looking good. Make sure I get the top. That's not too bad. I'm going to go back to this background layer copy and do a little more patching. I'm not liking these bright spots up here, and this is just my OCD and me being conscious of composition, and that's looking pretty good. Now the third step that we want to do is just bring it all together with a nice color grade. What I'm going to do is add another adjustment layer. I'm going to add a curves adjustment layer. If you Option or Alt click the auto button here, it brings up a new dialog box. What we can do is find the dark and light colors and snap our neutral midtones. And if I hit OK, you'll see a before and after. It kind of does a pretty good job of bringing back some nice natural lighting to this. So once I have that done, I'm going to hit Command Option Shift E to merge a visible layer on top of everything. And with this selected, I'm going to set this to multiply. Now what I'm doing here, I'm going to add a custom vignette essentially. So I do this often. I'll merge a visible layer and I'll set it to multiply, and that's going to darken my whole image. And then what I can do is slap on another layer mask and do the whole black paint bucket to hide it all and brush in white where I want this vignette to show. I'm going to drop this back down to 35 because I really don't want to go overboard here. Make sure white is selected, and with a soft, low flow, low opacity brush, just start brushing in. And the cool trick here is, because our focus is the couple here, I can actually hide a lot with this vignette or this darkening technique, just by kind of darkening the edges and bringing more focus to the couple in the foreground. Now what I'm noticing is the green area here. I don't like this saturation and what's going on over here. So what I'm going to do is Command Option Shift E, merge a visible layer again, and I'm going to go into my favorite filter, Camera Raw filter. And what we're going to do is, this is like the money trick of any edit that I do. If you go into this little camera here, it's camera calibration. Excuse my computer while it loads up my dialog box here, if it loads it up. Come on, computer. All right, well, we'll see what we can do. I'm actually going to cancel out because you got to be able to see this Camera Raw filter and what I'm trying to do. Otherwise, this is not going to work. You son of a bitch. All right, well, you can see my sliders. So what I want to do is grab this top red slider, and I'm going to pull it to the right. And this is, once again, to taste, to flavor, however you want to edit this. Then I'm going to grab my blue slider and pull it to the left. with each of these, I'm going to drop the saturation a tad. And if I hit Q, you can see a before and after, and already I'm liking this because it's dumbing down the saturation of the greens in the background, and it's bringing a more pleasant blue and orange tone to our couple, which is our focus point. So I'm going to hit Q a few more times to get back into this widescreen or full screen. I'm going to go back into the basic corrections within Camera Raw, and I'm just going to play with some of the stuff that I typically do. I'm going to drop the highlights, brighten the shadows, brighten the whites, and brighten the blacks. I'm not going to touch clarity, vibrance, or saturation. I'm going to leave those. But then I'm going to go into my HSL sliders. I'm going to grab hue. I'm going to push this red a little bit more to the right. I'm going to pull my oranges down to the left, pull my yellows down to the left, and pull my greens more to the yellow side. And look at our before over here on the left and our after. That's looking pretty good. I'm liking where we're going here. Saturation, I don't want the greens to be too saturated. I'm going to brighten those greens as well. And then the final thing, I'm going to add another vignette. I'm going to dehaze it actually a little bit in the effects tab here and drop a vignette, more vignette on it, because everyone loves the vignette, as we know. I'm going to drop midpoint, make it more round. I'm going to feather the hell out of it, and I'm going to hit OK. And look at this, guys. Camera Raw does an excellent job. Just that camera calibration within Camera Raw, you can really set a nice color tone to your images. And this is, like I said, this is where I make my money. This is where it happens. So I'm not liking everything just yet. I'm gonna hit Command J again. I'm gonna try to just multiply the hell out of this again. I'm gonna add a layer mask, G, paint black in here. I'm gonna try to target this area over here now. Make sure white's selected, because by doing this, I can hide a lot, like I said before, and bring more focus to our couple. So that's looking pretty good. Now, for finishing touches, I'm going to grab another hue saturation adjustment layer, pardon me. Grab that slider tool again, and I'm going to target this area over here, because I want this to be less saturated, and I want to push more of a reddish orange into it. That's looking good. But I want to paint bucket black into this layer mask and just paint in where I need it, which is on this left side over here. And we paint it in with white once again. In a matter of minutes, people, we've gone from this kind of crude photo that's kind of got this obnoxious yellow. It's kind of a flat image to me. It kind of misses that, or it's missing something, and just by a few quick edits in Photoshop, we can just turn it up a notch and give this finished product to a lovely Redditor. And I actually, on that note, I want to thank the Redditor Computer Blue. I'm not sure that's the correct pronunciation. I think that's actually a B-I-U-E. They sent in this Photoshop request. I hopped on it. Everyone was asking me how I did this, and it's actually really quick once you know how to do it. And they were kind enough to let me use their photo in this video, so I want to thank them. And the main takeaways here is all we did is 3 steps. We targeted the yellows, their luminance levels, by using a black and white adjustment layer. That gave us the sliders to play around to drop the luminance levels. The second step we did is we matched the color with hue and saturation and selective color. And the third step, which is the money step, is we gave it a color grade to our liking. And once again, this is how I tackled it. There's thousands of ways to tackle this in Photoshop, but I hope you learned something tonight. And with that, as I always say, work smarter, not harder, and I will see you guys next time. If you have any requests for tutorials, send them my way. I'm going to try to get back on these every Tuesday or thereabout. I don't know if you can hear, I've got a newborn in the background, so things have been going on in my life, and I haven't had time, but I do enjoy doing this, so if you have ideas, shoot them my way, and I will gladly help you learn something in Photoshop. That's it, guys. I'll see you later.